Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is a 2002 fantasy film directed by Chris Columbus and distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures based on the J.K. Rowling's 1998 novel of the same name. Produced by David Heyman and written by Steve Kloves, it is the sequel to Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone in 2001 and the second installment in the Harry Potter film series. The film stars Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, reprising his role from the first film, Rupert Grint as Ron Weasley, Emma Watson as Hermione Granger. The story follows Harry's second year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry as the Heir of Salazar Slytherin opens up the Chamber of Secrets, unleashing a monster that petrifies the school's denizens. The cast of the first film returned for the sequel, with the additions of Kenneth Branagh, Jason Isaacs, and Gemma Jones, among others. It was the last film, though, to feature Richard Harris as Professor Albus Dumbledore, due to his death in the same year. Principal photography began in November 2001, only 3 days after the release of the first film. It was shot at Leviston Film Studios in the historic buildings around the United Kingdom, as well as on the Isle of Man. Filming concluded in July of 2002. Chamber of Secrets was released in theatres in the United Kingdom and the United States on the 15th of November 2002, and the film became a critical and commercial success, grossing $879 million worldwide and becoming the second highest grossing film of 2002, only behind Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. It was nominated for many awards, including a BAFTA Award for Best Production Design and Best Sound and Best Visual Effects. Now, of course, once again, Daniel Radcliffe plays Harry Potter, a 12-year-old British wizard famous for surviving his parents' murder at the hands of the evil wizard, Lord Voldemort, as an infant who now enters his second year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. The new additions to the cast, of course, was Kenneth Branagh as Gilderoy Lockhart, a celebrity author and new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher at Hogwarts. Hugh Grant was first choice for the role of Lockhart, but due to reported scheduling conflicts, he was unable to play the character. Alan Cumming was also considered, but withdrew due to salary disputes. And then, of course, we have Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy, Draco's father and former Hogwarts pupil of Slytherin, who now works as a school governor at Hogwarts. Christian Coulson appears as Tom Marvolo Riddle, a manifestation of a young Lord Voldemort. Before Coulson was cast, Eddie Redmayne was considered for the role. Of course, Eddie Redmayne would go on to play Newt Scamander in the Fantastic Beasts trilogy, a prequel, of course, to the Harry Potter series. And finally, we have Toby Jones voicing the house elf, Dobby. Other cast and characters that returned for this film were, of course, John Cleese as Nearly Headless Nick, the ghost of Gryffindor House, Robbie Coltrane as Rufus Hagrid, a half-giant gamekeeper at Hogwarts, who's framed for opening the Chamber of Secrets and is sent to Azkaban on Lucius Malfoy's orders. This movie reveals Hagrid's expulsion from Hogwarts due to Tom Riddle, aka Lord Voldemort, framing him. We also have Richard Griffiths as Vernon Dursley, Harry's abusive muggle uncle, who despises wizards and now works at a drill company director. Alan Rickman also returns as Severus Snape, with Fiona Shaw returning as Petunia Dursley, Harry's muggle aunt. One of the interesting facts I came across when doing research for this movie was, of course, the Weasleys' car, Ford Anglia, which plays a huge part in the Chamber of Secrets and, of course, is even on the cover of the book. This car, of course, was the same colour and model in which J.K. Rowling and her best friend from school used to ride around when they were younger. She used this car for the book, of course, and later the movie, and even drove around in it, bringing back some fond memories. Now, some major differences between the book and the novel. Ginny Weasley is eventually revealed to be the person who opened the Chamber of Secrets again, albeit with Lord Voldemort's taking control of her mind. In the book, there's a plenty of foreshadowing for this moment, with Ginny harbouring a secret and trying on numerous occasions to confess to her actions. But there's none of this in the movie, which makes the big reveal at the ending a little bit more shocking. Rather than punish her, Albus Dumbledore treats her with nothing but kindness, and she becomes a totally different person in the movies that come later down the line. In the book, Harry, Ron and Hermione choose to reluctantly skip Halloween after being invited to Nearly Headless Nick's death day party. It's here where Potter first starts to hear the villainous, disembodied voice inside his head, which leads to the trio discovering a petrified Mrs. Norris and a message about the Chamber of Secrets being open once more. Yet despite featuring in the video game of the same name, there's no mention of the death day party here whatsoever in the film. Instead, Harry hears the voice when he's doing detention in Professor Lockhart's office. Lockhart reveals as much, getting Harry off the hook, but it doesn't stop rumours from springing up immediately afterwards. Now, one of the laws of the wizarding world is you're not allowed to do magic out of Hogwarts if you're under the age of 17. So somebody should have probably told Warner Brothers that, with Hermione Granger mending Harry's shattered glasses when they met in Diagon Alley. Now this is an obvious plot hole, and one that to this day leaves fans unimpressed. In the books, it is Mr. Weasley who uses the Reparo charm to fix them instead, because as an adult he is entitled to use his wand whenever he sees fit. In the book, the Harry and the Weasleys' trip to the bookshop Flourish and Blotts doesn't go quite to plan. Firstly, Harry finds himself having to pose for pictures with Gilderoy Lockhart, despite having no desire to do so. Then, following a tense exchange of words with Lucius Malfoy, a fight between Draco's father and Mr. Weasley breaks out. This would have been great to see on the big screen, but instead it doesn't happen. Lucius and Mr. Weasley fire a few verbal shots at each other, but no physical violence is used, meaning the scene doesn't have the same entertaining impact as its core material. Now, I recall reading The Chamber of Secrets and thoroughly enjoying it. Enticing, fascinating for me, it was the first time Potter reveals the other side to him, and we start to be introduced to the darker side of this universe. This film has a much darker tone to it. In fact, it's downright scary at times. From communicating with snakes, to the Aragog, a giant spider, to even the Basilisk, a giant serpent that kills people who make direct eye contact with it. This story moves into a new realm of Potter's journey and his eventual collision course with Voldemort. I particularly enjoyed the story of Tom Riddle and his background to how he becomes Voldemort. It's a prequel, if you will, and it's fascinating, and it gives you another dimension to one of the most fascinating baddies in fiction history. For me, this is when the Potter series really begins and starts to take off. Darker, livelier, and more serious, the characters also feel much more fleshed out. Chris Columbus, the director, does a real wonderful job being faithful to the story, but also taking it into the cinematic era. He did something that he hadn't done before as a director, as he portrayed this film in a much more serious tone than his previous directions. The film is very long and can drag at times, but if you settle in and let yourself be taken on the ride, it is a most fulfilling experience. The children's acting is far better than in the first film, as they become more comfortable and believable in their roles. The only sad thing about this, of course, was the loss of Richard Harris, who I felt played the perfect Dumbledore, and he was a great loss to all of cinema. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets gets an 8 out of 10.